Usually, you wear pants in martial arts.
Huh?
In a lot of styles, you can't grab the other's pants at all, like MMA or boxing. There's also martial arts where you can grab each other by the pants, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But there's not too many styles that are solely based on giving your opponents wedgies, is there?
What?
Well, here's 4 styles entirely about pants battling. The first style should need no introduction. It's sumo. But the world's famous giant panty fighters are a lot more interesting and a lot more fearsome than you might think at first sight. Sumo fighters, or rikishi, are divided into 6 divisions based on skill and success. Fighters can be promoted or relegated depending on their performance every year. This makes the yearly main tournaments intensely competitive and because of that super interesting to watch. Sumo fighters are known for being huge. There are no weight classes for sumo in Japan, and even the weight classes in International Sumo Federation are bigger than any other combat sports. Lightweight, the lowest weight class in International Sumo Federation, for men is under 85 kilos and under 65 kilos for women. For comparison, the lightest weight class in Olympic boxing is flyweight at 52 kilograms for men and 51 for women. That's 33 kilogram difference for men and 13 kilogram for women. That's insane. It's like wrestling with a kid in your backpack. Big part of sumo are the traditional Shinto rituals. A bout starts by both fighters stomping their feet and clapping their hands as show of not hiding weapons and to display that they wish to have a fair fight. Salt is thrown by both fighters to purify and drive away evil spirits. The only equipment the fighters have is the mawashi belt, made from tough, heavyweight fabric. The fight begins when both fighters touch the ground with their fists and the referee announces the start. Sumo is a simple win or lose format where no ties or scoring during a match exists, which makes the bouts extremely explosive and fast, sometimes lasting only a few seconds. Sumo takes place in a clay ring approximately 4.5 meters in diameter and around 70 centimeters above ground. A bout can be won in 3 ways: shoving your competitor out of the ring, grabbing the opponent's belt and forcing them out by throw or push, and lastly, forcing your opponent on the ground. As soon as one of these happens, the bout is over and the referee announces both the winner as well as the technique used to win. The rikishi are prohibited from using any of the following: hair pulling, punching, although slapping and pushing with open hand are allowed, striking the ears, attacking the groin, and choking. Sumo throws are explosive and usually followed by the thrower themselves going down as well. Since there is no ground game in sumo, it doesn't matter if you fall down yourself as long as your opponent touches the ground first. This doesn't mean sumo throws are not effective. After all, they're always done with your entire body mass behind the throw. Just imagine a 100+ kilo man grabbing you by the pants and first throwing you over the shoulder on hard clay floor before falling on top of you themselves. Also, getting a slap by a guy of that size would hurt, like, pretty bad.
Ouch.
I wouldn't want any of that. Actually, I would love to try sumo.
You like getting slapped around by big men?
Yes. But really, I'd love to try sumo someday, other than the snow sumo me and my family did one Christmas.
It looked fun.
It was fun. Alright, next up is a style somewhat similar to sumo at a cursory glance, but has some fairly interesting differences. The Korean art of SSireum.
SSireum?
Yeah.
That sounds like a Harry Potter spell.
SSireum!
A very good evening!
The rules of SSireum are fairly simple. The goal is to force any part of the opponent above the knees to touch the ground. Only holds allowed are from the straps tied around the waist and one thigh. Fighters push, pull and lift from the straps as well as sweep the legs, so a big part of the game is to have enough muscle strength and endurance to lift and push in a 90-degree hip angle, as well as the technique and explosiveness to get into a proper throwing position. There are no strikes or locks in SSireum. SSireum bouts are overseen by 4 officials and last 3 rounds. The one to win 2 out of 3 rounds wins the match. This heightens the tension and excitement and allows the fighter to come back from one failed attempt, unlike Sumo, where it's just a one and done deal. Now, SSireum might be simple in concept, but it requires immense strength and technique to pull off successfully. SSireum has a weight limit of 140 kilograms for fighters to promote more technical fights and to differentiate itself from its Japanese counterpart. Interestingly, SSireum was named Intangible Cultural Heritage by both Koreas in a joint application to UNESCO in 2018. Before the Korean colonial liberation in 1946, SSireum played a part in unifying the people against their Japanese occupiers, so it's a very important culturally for its home country. First place I heard about SSireum was the manhwa Viral Hit, where the character Mangi Hwan uses SSireum. It's a story about this scrawny kid making viral content about fighting bullies. And then it escalates into gang violence, organized crime and drug smuggling. Anyway, great read! SSireum is a very interesting style which I think would synergize well with other styles for self-defense applications. Most people have pants on for you to grab, and being able to lift and pull from such an awkward angle like they do in SSireum shouldn't be underestimated. Now we'll move on to Europe, more specifically our neighbors in Scandinavia. Glima, or Viking wrestling as I've seen it called somewhere, is a name for several forms of folk wrestling practiced in the Nordic countries, especially Iceland. First off, calling Glima Viking wrestling is really stupid. Viking isn't an ethnicity, it's an occupation. And Glima wasn't done only by Vikings. This is kinda like referring to Sumo as samurai wrestling, or Greco-Roman as philosopher wrestling. Glima was and is still practiced by people from all walks of life and is an interesting and integral part of Icelandic cultural heritage. Many place names in Iceland have references to practice of Glima, like, and I'm sorry for my pronunciation, Fangbrekka, or Wrestling Hill, Glimustofa, or Glima Hall, and Hrypbrotur, or Backbreaker. Also, everyday speech has phrases with their origin rooted in Glima, like the saying Athna undirtekunum, or to have an undergrip in wrestling, which means to have an upper hand in an argument. The most widespread Glima style is known as trouser grip or brokartök wrestling, where the wrestler wear a belt pretty similar to one used in SSireum, but made of leather and going around both thighs instead of just one. In brokartök Glima, the rules are pretty interesting. Both fighters must try to stay upright, so no 90-degree angle like in SSireum. Fighters step clockwise around each other as to promote active position fighting and not staying passive. This is called stigandi. Or stigandi? Forcefully pushing your opponent over is considered unsportsmanlike, as is falling on top of your opponent. Fighters should look across each other's shoulders as much as possible to promote wrestling by touch and feel instead of sight. I like this. It looks fun, and as Nordic myself, I do feel some unwarranted second-hand pride for a style that comes from our distant brothers in Iceland. You go, guys! You made something interesting and fun, other than the you lads and skyr. Also, as a form of fighting, being able to stand upright and toss and pull without seeing your opponent is really beneficial. Feeling what your opponent is trying to do without having to look shortens your reaction time significantly. The same as SSireum, I think Glima, specifically brokartök, is a great addition to wrestling self-defense, but for pretty much opposite reasons. Let's move down a few blocks and check out a form of folk wrestling from Switzerland, and more specifically from the German-speaking pre-Alpine parts of Switzerland. Now, most of what I found about the next style comes from German sources, and I don't speak German, so I apologize if there's any mistranslations or incorrect info. A style called Scwhingen, meaning swinging, also hilariously known as Hosenloop, or breeches lifting in Swiss German. Roots of Swiss wrestling have been found to be as early as the 1200s from depictions of wrestlers in the Cathedral of Lausanne. Specifically, Scwhingen style of wrestling can be traced back to the early 1600s, and the form of wrestling was preserved during the 16 and 1700s in the regions of Antlebuch, Haslital, and Emmental. Cheese. Before getting spread around in the 1800s by the Unspunnenfest, a festival held every 12 years or so near the old ruins of Unspunnen Castle. Scwhingen is a style of folk wrestling where the competitors wear short pants made of jute. The match takes place in a ring 12 meters in diameter covered in sawdust. In Scwhingen, you always have to hold your opponent's Schwinghorsen with at least one hand while trying to throw your opponent down on their back. A match is won if one successfully throws another on the ground so that both their shoulders touch the ground while still holding their pants with at least one hand. If you let go with both hands, the match will reset. A match is judged by 3 referees, of which one is in the ring. The referees award points for both winners and losers with the maximum of 10 for a winning throw. If there is no clear winner, the more active wrestler is awarded more points. Traditionally, the winner brushes the sawdust off of the loser's back as a sign of good sportsmanship.
Aww.
Wholesome sawdust moment. There are no weight classes in Scwhingen. At a Schwing festival, every Schwinger battles 6 opponents, or 8 at the Eidgenössische. The 2 fighters with highest number of points after 5 bouts get to the Schlussgang, or final round. A lot of Scwhingen techniques are fairly close to judo and other stand-up wrestling styles, with hip tosses and around-the-waist lifts being fairly common. Like, of course, because your hands are in each other's pants. So, if you'd prefer jute pants instead of gi or wrestling spandex, give Scwhingen a go! One notable Swiss professional swinger wrestler I want to mention is Kurdin Orlik. He has been awarded 35 wreaths and has won 5 Scwhingen festivals during his career. He also came out as gay in 2020, making him the first openly gay male in Swiss pro sports. It's always nice to see successful LGBTQ representation in such a traditionally masculine field as combat sports. I hope your work inspires other marginalized people to follow their dreams amongst martial arts. Yeah!
Yeah!
That was 4 styles all about pulling pants. I hope you learned something new. If you guys know of any weird folk styles I might find interesting, let me know in the comments. I love learning about all kinds of niche fighting arts, and I can't wait to talk about some more pretty soon. Would you like to try some of these, honey?
I don't want a veggie.
Okay.